Thank you so much for still being with us here in Morning at NTV. As we journey on Wednesday's edition, we have the privilege of being in Magere this morning, sitting down with the party president of the National Unity Platform, and that is Honorable Kyagulanyi Robert. Of course, we want to look at building strong foundations for a democracy, a continued struggle, significance of NUP Countrywide tours that have been happening, and of course, opposition view of Uganda's political evolution. We cannot leave out the strategies for the opposition ahead of the 2026 general elections. Allow me welcome the Honorable to this conversation, and then we get head started. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Priscilla.
How are you?
I'm all good, thank you. How are you?
It's been a very long year for you. You've been up and around the country, and how has this whole process been like for you?
First, the year has not been any longer. It's still 12 months.
Yeah.
Only tougher.
Yes.
Yeah. We are going, thank God, we're still alive. So much that we've been through. We're still facing a lot, but we're more hopeful than scared.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's get into it. This week is marking 4 years exactly since the November riots, the 18th and the 19th, in which 54 people lost their lives because of the arrest that you experienced in Luka district. You did have a requiem mass on Monday in which you remembered the souls of the late with the families of the late. What is your commitment as the party towards advocating for, one, their compensation, but them really getting some sort of resonance out of what happened?
Thank you, Priscilla. As a way of correcting you, actually, it was not just 54 people that were murdered in cold blood. That is just a number that the regime gave. But it was our Human Rights Office recorded more than 150 deaths of men, women, children, and the elderly. So many people, and not only that, those are the only ones that we could verify, but I believe many more went unaccounted for. So it was not only 54 people like the regime reported, but even if it was, I mean, those are still too many people to be killed with no justification whatsoever. As you notice, General Museveni actually came out and bragged about the killings. He said he was in Karamoja and he had people in Kampala who were protesting, and he ordered the military to take care of that, and indeed they took care of that. So it was a gross act of terror. We still remember it. We refuse to sweep it under the carpet, and we are sure that one day justice will be served on the lives of those people. But I must also add that this is, you know, this is a further light that is shown on the nature of this regime. It did not start in November 2020. You know, you have seen the Mukola massacres where people were abandoned into train wagons and roasted inside there. You have seen the same massacres happened in northern Uganda, in Acholi land. We have seen accounts of the likes of Norbert Mao and many other elders from northern Uganda reporting that people in Acholi land were massacred, were killed, were sodomized by the Museveni army. It also reminds us of the Kasese massacre, where people, women and children were tied with their hands on the back and shot point blank. So this and many other gross actions that happened before November 2020 continue to show us the nature of the Museveni military regime. Okay,
all right. In your address on Monday, you did make mention of the fact that the victims should be blaming the president. And of course, they've not yet gotten their compensation that was committed to them by the presidential directive. However, as a party leader and as the party itself, what have you exactly done in these 4 years to be able to help these families that lost lives?
First, to help them, their plight not disappear in the dark, because dictators tend to believe that the passage of time will erase memories and therefore free them of the sense of accountability. We do that, but also with our major resources, we try to reach out to the families of those especially that we knew, those that were in struggle, and those that died innocently, like Kamuyat and others. We have an initiative of looking after the victims, trying to keep the children in school, the children of those that were massacred, not only in November 2020, but those that have been killed, those that have disappeared, and those that are in jail. So as a party, we only try to bridge that gap. Of course, it is not as effective as the people that were there, you know. And it is, we did not commit this crime. Museveni committed this crime. So we are only trying to
rally your people at that time of your arrest to tell them not to resort to violence, but never that's the case. They did resort to violence.
No, they did not resort to violence.
We have seen the same trajectory with Dr. Kizza Besigye, and it begs the question, is violence the voice that opposition uses to get the regime to
You are insisting we are not violent. You have said it yourself, Priscilla, that even when I was being arrested, when I was being pepper sprayed, I pronounced it, I told our people to be non-violent, because we are non-violent. It is the state that is violent. It is the state that killed people. So it would really be unfair of you to insist that we are the ones that are violent. We are not violent, and we don't advocate for violence. The regime is violent because violence is their only way to respond to our logical challenge.
Okay, let's project into the future, because this cycle is yet to repeat itself again in 1 year to come, and it begs the question, as a party, how are you strategically enabling people to understand that violence is not the answer and that you are calling for a peaceful transfer of power?
It is not the people of Uganda to be made to understand that violence is not the answer, because they understand it. It is General Museveni and his criminal regime that must understand that violence is not the answer. It can periodically keep them in power, but it's not sustainable. All brutal regimes have come down crumbling. So violence is not the answer. Violence and the Museveni regime are like twins. The people of Uganda are non-violent, because if they were violent, we would have had a civil war already. But we know that violence only creates a vicious circle of violence. So we try as much as possible to dissuade them away from violence.
Okay. Away from that matter, last week we did have the Kisoro by-election in which an independent candidate, Ngabirano, is now member-elect of Kisoro. However, of course, the opposition candidate that you went to rally for, Sultana, came in second position. What is the reflection of her standing in Kisoro towards the acceptance and reception of Kisoro and the National Unity Platform?
Well, I want to welcome back all the people that were in Kisoro, and to congratulate Akifeza, the independent candidate who won. But I'll also add that in the beginning they said NUP is not anywhere in Kisoro. In Kisoro it is NRM ijana ku ijana. Ijana ku ijana means 100%. They said 100 is 100% NRM. There's no NUP in Kisoro. When we stepped foot there, you saw the support, you saw the masses that came to welcome us. So it shifted from there's no NUP here to, oh yes, you are here but you will not win, to here it is NRM 100%. Did the NRM candidate win? No. So while we recognize that we did not win the Kisoro by-election, we must be proud that we stepped foot there. Of course, under a lot of intimidation, like you saw, but also I must mention that the NRM rigging machinery is weakening and losing steam every day. You saw in the morning of the election, there were already complaints, cases, and videos of ballot stuffing were all over in Kisoro. But to see that with all that ballot stuffing, with all that intimidation, with all the bribery, the NRM did not win. That should show us that it is rotten, even where it thought it had 100%.
In that regard, it gives you a picture of how Western Uganda is responding to the opposition. Does it show you that maybe in the coming election you will have a better ground for people to believe in the cause that you're pushing for?
We've always had a good ground. Of course we can have a better ground, but what we need is to be left alone. What we need is to have no violence, no intimidation, no ballot stuffing, no irregularities. in elections. I'm not saying that we will sweep 100% all through Western Uganda, but we can beat our opponents, as it has been shown in the past. You have seen in 2021, most parts of Western Uganda were not allowed to vote for president. You'd get to the polling station, they say, okay, you can cast a ballot for your MP, president has already voted for you. So that was the case. These are the trends that we're trying to reverse. Some we reversed them 100%, others we're reversing them slowly by slowly. We have fear to deal with. We have radicalization and brainwash to deal with, but we are taking it one step at a day, and we're making great progress.
Okay, speaking of progress, you've also made great progress with the nationwide tours that you have been having. And it begs the question, I know one of the things that you have been doing is opening up party offices in all the locations that you have been going to. What other strategies and partnerships and things have you been doing to the different districts and communities and supporters in the regions?
Some, I'll tell you, some I won't tell you, but what I'll tell you is that we have openly been going around the country trying to galvanize our support, trying to embolden the people, because there's a great effort to intimidate the people of Uganda and to make them give up on democracy, to make them give up on the hope for change. We go around reigniting the hope of the people, reasserting our leaders in those areas. We noticed that in 2021 what the regime did is to deny us leadership. Wherever we had candidates, they either intimidated them out of the race or bought them out. So we are moving to anchor our leaders in various areas, because some of them actually sold us out, as you notice. So we keep going to anchor our leaders, to meet our people, to reassert ourselves, and to remind them that our hope is alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is on the side of the National Unity Platform.
Yeah.
Let's flip it to the side of the people. You have been interacting with the locals on ground, the natives. What is their voice to power?
Their voice to power is enough is enough. Enough of the poverty, enough of the dehumanization, enough of being downtrodden. We were in Busoga, and the regime, in its wisdom or lack of it, denied us the right to move on the main roads. They pushed us into the dusty road, into the remote areas. They didn't want us to go past towns because they thought it would expose massive support for us, which they don't want the world to see. But this was an advantage, because wherever we went through, oh my God, we went through Busoga, and it was sickening. The poverty that is crushing people who are seated on very productive land. You would see acres and acres of sugarcane, but knowing that that sugarcane does not benefit them because it was crushed. We went to Karamoja, the same thing, and the subjugation, because there was a roadblock after a few kilometers. We went to Teso, same thing. We came from there, we went to Kisoro, not any different. Now, the last one before they came in to stop us was in Buyikwe, here in Buganda. And wherever we go, we speak about the peculiar problems that are in those areas, and we also show them how to overcome them. We talked about sugarcane in Busoga, which was their bread and butter, but now it is taken over, especially by foreigners. We spoke about the minerals in Karamoja. We spoke about the past glory of Teso. Those people used to grow lots of cotton and benefit from it, but even the greenery is nowhere to be seen anymore. Their rufla of Teso, is not functioning anymore, thanks to the fact that they did not compensate their cattle that was taken. Same story everywhere. Here in Uganda, we spoke about the recent takeover of their coffee, which we all know is not anything to do with rationalization, but it's everything to do with economic impoverishment, with taking over everything that the people of Uganda have, just like they did it to Busoga, just like they did it to Teso, to Karamoja, and all these other regions. Okay. So we keep going around, opening the people, the eyes of the common people to the very basic and simple realities, to make them understand that they need the change. And glad enough, they understand.
The opposition is always the alternative government in waiting. And while you were addressing people on these matters, what were the alternatives that you were giving them to show them that there's actually hope at the end of the tunnel?
Like I said, there are some peculiar alternatives in different regions, but again, there are general ones. I'll talk about the general ones. Economic freedom, giving them back what belongs to them, giving back the Basoga the value of their sugar cane, giving them back the benefit of the natural resources and natural blessings that they have. For example, why shouldn't every single village in the Busoga have accessible and subsidized electricity? Because it comes from there. Why shouldn't there be benefit from the great minerals that come from Karamoja? Why shouldn't the people of Uganda and Bugisu and all those coffee growing regions benefit from their coffee? That begins by having a leadership that respects and cares for those people. A leadership that does not seek to enslave them, but to give them economic power and progress. Speaking of leadership, the current leadership is saying the reason why they are choosing to rationalize now, and in consideration of the latest rationalization, the Coffee Bill Amendment Bill 2024, is simply because they're trying to cut down on government. That is nonsense. And manage corruption. Yeah, that is absolute nonsense. How is it Why do I say? The same person that's talking about cutting costs is having 82 ministers. Kenya, with all its problems, has only 22. The same person has the military split. You have UPDF and you have another military, the SFC. Why not merge them? The same person keeps creating positions of RDCs, deputy RDCs and assistant RDCs. All that is expenditure. Why do we need them? The same person keeps xeroxing, keeps duplicating roles. You have the IGG, you have State House Anti-Corruption Unit, you have Uganda Revenue Authority, you have State House Revenue Intelligence, you have, lots and lots and lots. Why don't they do that? You have Ministry of Energy, you have UNOC. This is nothing at all to do with cutting costs. It has everything with monopolizing the economy, trying to have sectors in single people's hands. Not even ordinary, but everybody, but family. Museveni wants to give coffee to his family, just like he gave gold to his family. It is his family that deals in Ugandan gold. All Ugandan gold belongs to Museveni's family. All Ugandan gold mines, they either belong to Janet Museveni or Salim Saleh or Mohozi or Sodo, So they're talking about this nonsense of rationalization. That's a joke. All these people, all these propagandists trying to make a case for the so-called rationalization on TV and on radio, those are paid propagandists. And at the right time, they should also be held accountable, because these are enablers of oppression. There were black people in South Africa that were talking a lot of so-called sense in support for apartheid. There were intelligent people that were speaking for Bashir, speaking for Mugabe, speaking for Saddam, when they were oppressing people. So even this, they will find so-called intellectuals who will come and use a lot of English, but only to impoverish people. So I'll say all the rationalization talk is absolute nonsense. You speak of the right time, and I believe this is the right time for then people to see what would be the alternative schools of thought to manage corruption, or even end it in Uganda, as well as manage our government expenditure. What are those alternatives that are on the table? To end corruption? Just end it. Just see it and call it what it is. Corruption. We see corrupt people, and we know who protects them. The IGG Mulyagonja one time is quoted to have said that the big fish hide behind the president, every corruption scandal will be followed up to Museveni's doorstep. You have seen the open corruption in parliament. The Speaker of Parliament literally robbing taxpayers' money, undefended by General Museveni. Even when facts are brought, where she hides her money in the UK, in Dubai and others, protected by Museveni. You have seen all corrupt people, even those that have been taken to prison. You saw what they did. Take Kenya there, bring him back, redeploy him. Take Mukula there for corruption, stealing from the sick and dying people. Bring him back, redeploy him. Jim Wezi, take him to prison, bring him back, redeploy him. Nabanja, all ministers, these people even steal from the poorest, the people of Karamoja.
Right.
So that corruption is at its height.
What's the alternative to government expenditure being high?
Have a moral government. Have a moral government. Remove this government that survives on corruption. Corruption is a way of survival for this government, so it cannot stop it. Just remove it and have a government that is willing to tackle corruption. This government glorifies corruption. This government has corruption as a way of survival. So you cannot tell this government to end corruption. It's as if you're telling it to end its existence. So
in essence, what you're saying is that the leaders that we have are corrupt.
Absolutely corrupt. Right. And not only in the government.
In that case, Honorable, how are you then changing the stance of leaders and that are coming up into government, especially through the Leadership Institute that you started?
One, we teach, we say it, but we don't only say it, we act on it. Not only these that we're bringing up, we even hold ourselves accountable. It doesn't matter whether you're the president of the party I lead, or you're the deputy president, or you're the secretary general or spokesperson. We are all held by those values. And we do this not holding just ourselves accountable, but we teach this to even the people that we lead, so that we are accountable to them. They can hold us accountable. You've seen us whenever we have such scandals, we deal with them decisively. We don't beat about the bush with corruption, because we know corruption is a cancer that has destroyed our country. And like I said, that corruption is not only with the government, but the regime uses money and goodies to, beckon on some of the inwardly corrupt comrades, even those that work with us. But like I said, we don't cut corners with corruption. We deal with it.
Who is a morally right leader, according to you? According
to me, is a leader that sees the way, goes the way, and shows the way, the right way. A morally upright leader is a leader that does everything with utmost integrity. In the open, in Buganda we call it owerufu, in the real sense of the word. Yeah.
Okay. For the Leadership Institute, begs another question. The leaders that are already in public service, are they going to be going through some of these trainings to be able to be better performers at their job?
They are. They are. But it does not only end at teaching. We teach these, our comrades, so that we can hold them accountable. You cannot hold a child accountable. You cannot punish a child for breaking a glass before you teach them that it's wrong to break a glass. So we first teach them that it's wrong to be corrupt, it's wrong to do the things that we're fighting against, because they see what we're fighting against. So we teach them that it's wrong to do the things that we're fighting against. And after that, then we tell them that there are consequences, there are actually consequences when you do what we disagree with. Yeah.
Okay, let's move to electoral reforms. I know that currently that is the fever that is around the country. Parliamentarians are calling for electoral reforms. Activists are calling for electoral reforms. I know the opposition is of the same voice, but in particular, which reforms would you want to advocate for in this season as we head into yet another cycle of elections?
The first reform should be respect for the rule of law. Even as it is, our law has been messed with a couple of times. Our constitution has been messed with a couple of times. But even our constitution as it is, if it's respected, you know, it can get us to where we want to go. But it's not respected. There's zero rule of law in this country. Zero. It is impunity that rules. So how are you going to tell me that you're going to have a good constitution without constitutionalism? So for us, what we were advocating for is respect, at least basic minimum respect for the rule of law. I would agree with reforms, good reforms, if at all they were to make sense. But I'm convinced that they don't make sense at all, especially looking at who brings them, how he or she brings them, and where he or she is taking them. For example, the first reform, if the person presenting those reforms was honest, the first reform should be the constitution, about how the Electoral Commission is constituted, because the Electoral Commission is appointed by a candidate. That is wrong. That should be changed, but that is not even mentioned. Secondly, I mean, what other reform do you want in the constitution? I saw they are talking about bringing back term limits, so that what? So that Museveni can run for 2 more terms, because the constitution does not work. I mean, the law does not work retrospectively. What I think, therefore, is if the person bringing reforms was real honest, just 2 things I would need to see in those so-called reforms, and I respect them. One, the way the Electoral Commission is constituted. It shouldn't be appointed by a candidate. And secondly, you know, let us hear somebody talking about returning the age limit. Anything other than that is helping Museveni. I have information, and I hope they get ashamed and halt that. But we are aware that the whole idea is to use somebody in the opposition to open up the constitution, so that when the constitution is opened up, then the NRM can swarm in and do whatever they want to do. I'm telling you this here, my sister, that the whole agenda is to change the constitution, and there's only one thing they want to change in that constitution: to take away the right of the people of Uganda, the right of voting for a president. Because General Museveni is too old, he cannot move around the country, and he wants to impose his son on the people of Uganda, and he knows the people of Uganda cannot vote for his son, he cannot even win an LC1 election. So he wants to impose them, he wants to use the parliament, which parliament he knows he can buy like pancakes
Speaking
anytime.
of using parliament, there's been the Lumu bill that was suggesting that an opposition leader in parliament should be voted.
Before you take me to the Lumu bill, let me make this point here. I want the people of Uganda to understand me. The agenda is to change the constitution and take away the right of the people of Uganda from voting for president. Bagala kujja okulonda president bakujje ku bana Uganda. Bino ebirala byonna byonna kubuzaabuza bagala kugulawo constitution, but they want to use an opposition person to open it, so that they say, it is not us who brought it. You see, it's an opposition person who brought it. Once you open the constitution, the tyranny of the numbers of NRM will swing in, and they'll get what they want. So these other people in the opposition are only paid to play that part. Open the constitution. They don't know what is going to be done on the constitution. They don't even have any control on that. Or if they know, they are well paid, and they will be doing their job.
Okay.
So ask me your other question.
On the Lumu bill, what is the agenda behind that?
That is called an anti-Ssenyange bill. That bill was brought to fight Joel Ssenyange. We appointed a leader of opposition. The leader of opposition who appointed was bought with money. And he was doing all that they want. So when we changed that and we sent Ssenyange there, and Ssenyange became a problem to Museveni, became a problem to Anita Among, they could no longer steal the taxpayers' money unchecked. You notice it's until Ssenyange went into the office of the leader of opposition that all these dirty dealings came out. So this bill is to openly fight Ssenyange so that we don't have the right to appoint a leader of opposition and they can use the parliament as the clearinghouse that they turned it into.
Okay, now let's go into elections. 2026 is around the corner. However, reflecting on some of the comments that have been made by President Museveni in an address, he said that you stole and you rigged the 2021 general election. I would like to hear your side of
that man.
comments.
Museveni is shameless. He's shameless. You know, I really hesitate to talk about elderly people that way. But what do you do when an elder reduces himself to utter shamelessness? I challenged Museveni. I told him, okay. I mean, he challenged me to take him to court. And I responded to him. I told him, strip yourself of that immunity and I'll take you to court. He did not respond, as usual, because he has nothing to say to me. You understand? So I rigged elections by arresting myself, by putting myself under house arrest, by killing people, by rounding up and detaining all my campaign team, and keeping my supporters in prison, and massacring people. You see? Well, I don't always want to waste so much time on Museveni. I would rather look at the future. Museveni is in the past, although he's still there. But as far as I'm concerned...
What is your message to President Museveni right now?
Behave your age. Oswala. You are an African man. Don't, you know, there's much more than just being in power. You know, take time and reflect and look at the man that you were. Look at the amazing books that you either wrote or were written for you. And then think about your legacy. I know that most dictators don't care about legacy, but there's life beyond power. There's even life beyond existence. We, as Africans, are brought up to value legacy. So he should value that legacy. Uganda is greater than him. Uganda has been here before him. Uganda will be here after him. But he should respect himself.
That legacy seems to be valued. On Monday, a court sentencing of a young man up to almost 3 years for abusing the president. This is the Computer Misuse Act. You do have a lot of your supporters being the younger generation, the Gen Z generation that expresses themselves through social media. And many of them made fall victims to this Computer Misuse Act. How are you... What is your message to them so that they can be mindful while they are rallying and following the route of opposition and not to then fall victims of this act?
That's double standards, that's shamelessness again, but it is typical when dictators are in their evenings. For example, my sister, I'm going to ask you, haven't you seen lots of people abusing me and my family and calling me lots of gross things? These people are not just anybody you find on the street, but those that abuse me are actually rewarded by positions. Any blogger that abuses me with the most gross words is going to either be made presidential advisor or going to be made RDC here and there. You've seen RDCs that even strip themselves, that abuse the king of Uganda, abuse traditional leaders, abuse everybody, that are obscene. You have seen them. You have seen religious leaders that come out and turn themselves into unimaginable things. These people are rewarded. You find a pastor who will say gross things about people that are opposing Museveni, and the following day you will see military escorts rewarded to them. And what happens to people that complain or that speak against Museveni? They are persecuted, they are arrested, they are tortured. I saw a young man who was so beaten and even his teeth removed. So this is double standards. Not that we support wrong language. No, we don't. We don't support insults. And we have spoken about it numerous times. But we must also understand what these young people feel. Think about a young person that went to school, finished studying, didn't get a job, left for Arab countries, hustled for years, got Ntandikwa, came back here, bought a boda. Boda was impounded by the police for no clear reason whatsoever. Their businesses are crushed and all that. When you find them on social media expressing themselves, you should understand when Museveni was our age, he did not go on social media. He did not quarrel. He picked a few fellow thugs of his and they picked guns and they started killing, they started looting, they started raping. So much as I don't agree with verbal insults,
okay. Social media has been very instrumental to the National Unity Platform's ascent to the political space, especially the 2021 general elections, having been mad with COVID-19. So everyone was on social media, and it has continued to be a strong tool for the National Unity Platform. With this, what is happening under the Computer Misuse Act, isn't this going to be distorting or threatening your activities and the strategies that you're going to be having?
No, they cannot arrest all of us. I'll tell you, they arrested so many people. Some are still in prison for putting on this beret. I'm wearing it now. I wear it every day. Why have they not arrested me? They've arrested people. I mean, while they arrest us for wearing this, our beret, they are copying the same and dressing their NRM supporters in the same. What kind of double standards in that? So here, they are arresting young people that are criticizing Museveni, but they are rewarding and appointing those that use the same or even worse vulgar words against us. They're rewarding them with the government offices and paying them with taxpayers' money. That we have to fight it in all ways possible.
Okay. Speaking of fighting, the fight still continues on. The electoral cycle has begun yet again for 2026 general elections. First question, are you standing as a National Unity Platform flag bearer?
Am I standing? First of all, will there be an election? I'm telling you here that they are trying to scrap it. Because Museveni knows that I'm ready for him anytime, any day, and he does not want to go down that rat hole again. You know, not running against Museveni that we are going to be declared winners, but every time we drag him to the people and put him, shine a light in him, he has no more lies. That's why he doesn't want more elections. Okay.
According to the Electoral Commission, there will be an election. What are the strategies that you're going to be deploying as the opposition in order to do what you have to do through the cycle, participate actively through the cycle, and then, you know, get to the ballot?
First, we have debated and agreed that you cannot leave a fight to, and we used the analogy of boxing. I'm a boxer myself, but you'll go in a ring with a person that is favored by the referees, and you'll have a fight. Even when you knock them down 10 times in a fight, and they give them a fight, you know, you cannot say, okay, I'm going to boycott another fight. They bring another fight. We shall go to that ring, and we want to knock that person down so that they don't wake up.
Okay.
You know, and dictators are removed before elections, during elections, and after elections.
Okay.
So if we are to go in this election, if this election happens, we would be going into this election not just to be
our time is running out.
Yes.
The strategy that was used in 2021 is take the umbrella, just take the umbrella. Now you have a number, hundreds of umbrellas in the parliament, 11th parliament. What is going to be the other strategy you have to deploy now? You
learn every day. You learn every day. We learned that some of the people were sent to us in the regime and they infiltrated us, while others were our colleagues and even senior leaders, but they sold out, and the population has seen them. So, number one, we will be more careful this time. We will not deal with sellouts. And most importantly, we want to give it back to the people. We want to empower the people of Uganda to hold this election and turn it into what they want to turn it to.
And also strategy-wise, how are you going to collaborate with the other opposition parties in order to create a more unified front for the elections coming?
It's not about opposition political parties, it's about all the people of Uganda, even those that are not in the opposition. Anybody that has something to contribute to the fall of Museveni, we shall deal with them. Some pretend to be in opposition, but actually are not in opposition. So we won't be fooled this time. We won't be, misled this time. We can see through lies. We've learned a few lessons, and we hope to use those lessons to have a better 2026.
Okay, your closing remarks as we leave.
My closing remarks will go to the people of Uganda. Don't give up. We also did not mention, but I read in the news that Dr. Kizza Besigye has been apparently abducted in Nairobi. We condemn that. It is very, very shocking that Kenya, which used to be a safe haven for dissidents, is now increasingly becoming, an operational zone for the dictatorship in Uganda. We condemn that. We demand for the immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye. And I call upon all people of good conscience to condemn this and to demand for the immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye. And this should remind us, if that happens to a senior international person, a leader like Dr. Kizza Besigye, abducted on Saturday, all of Saturday nobody knows, all of Sunday nobody knows, all of Monday nobody knows, it is Tuesday, there's no statement whatsoever. But we pick from his family that he has been brought to Uganda against international law, against all extradition laws. So we demand for the immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye wherever you are. Dr. Kizza Besigye, we stand with you, we respect you, and we will fight for your freedom just like you've always fought for our freedom.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable
Thank you very much for having me.
Sentamu, for having us. And that brings us to the end of Morning at NTV. Have yourselves a good day.